So Omega and Tudor have just announced two new watches, and today we are going to talk about them in a more impromptu and less scripted video than some of my other ones. I don't do videos like this often, but these pieces are incredibly important to the industry because they show how both of these brands continue to challenge Rolex. So welcome to Doug's Watches, the Thinking Watch channel. Here I like to bring art, design, history, theory and philosophy to the world of watches. And if that sounds good to you, do make sure to like and subscribe. So right, let's kick off with Omega's latest and greatest, the new Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean. Now this watch is one I quite frankly expected to see before the year was out, to mark the Planet Ocean's 20th anniversary, and Omega quite frankly were cutting it a bit fine. But why was this release due? Well, Omega launched this watch back in 2005, and it really was their major statement of intent. Through the Bond partnership, Omega had elevated their reputation, and this watch was the piece to one-up the Submariner. Not just equal specs like the Seamaster 300 but better ones, and at a better price. Now the headlines are telling us about the blue, orange, and the black version, and the orange we really did need to see. You say Seamaster 300 and people think blue, and orange has long been the attempted association for the Planet Ocean. But why hasn't this worked so well? Potentially, people just buy black and blue watches more, but also the Planet Ocean exists at a higher price point, and with fewer pop cultural moments, excluding its appearance on the wrist of Craig's Bond, of course. But as a result of this, the Planet Ocean is a less mass-recognised watch, so it would never have such a strong association in the cultural zeitgeist. But the watch itself, at first glance, to me at least, it seems more utilitarian, more robust, more of a deeper dive watch than the previous generation. And while many people are talking about the revised case, I think we need to take a look at the bracelet more so. To my eyes, it's less dressy, it's sharper with a mix of polishing and brushing. It's clearly trying to differentiate itself from the more frequently spotted Seamaster 300 It's clearly a watch that has taken its inspiration from the ultra-deep piece, especially with that more bulky bezel, and of course, it's using the same movement. However, I think this is also Omega's take on a sporty integrated bracelet watch, testing the water for something later to come, perhaps a Zenith Defy competitor. Now, while not an integrated bracelet in style watch, getting that bracelet off the Submariner is a pain, because they intend their watch as this sort of thing. I think the Planet Ocean is trying for a similar thing. But with all that being said, I think the Planet Ocean in this fourth generation has evolved to become a YouTube watch enthusiast Omega dive watch. Hear me out here. It's 13.79mm thick, down from 16.1, and its lug to lug is 47.5mm, and that is 2.4mm smaller than that of the Seamaster 300 It's still a 42mm dive watch, so it's not small, but as we as a community are now forever chanting, lug to lug matters more than case diameter. Within the watch world, even post-Black Bay 58 hype, we're still looking towards smaller watches as the connoisseur's choice. Now this undeniably has inspiration in vintage Omegas, but this piece takes the vintage profile a little further as well, dropping the helium escape valve, making this watch a rather interesting piece to behold. In a dark room, a Seiko can be told apart from a Submariner without touching it, of course, because of its 4 o'clock crown position. The awkwardly placed helium escape valve does the same. While it's somewhat irrelevant for many people in their desk diving duties, it does feel perhaps in an attempt to regain some market share, the brand are prepared to change things. But in doing so, I think they may risk losing what makes their watches, and start making a far more generic sports watch in a market already overrun with them. I'm sure without a doubt, as the seasons pass, we'll get a gradual expansion of the watch, bringing in the colours of the rest of the Omega catalogue. So the red, the green, that summer blue. It's £7,700 or $9,200 on the bracelet. And undeniably this is Omega proving that while they have upped the price on this one by about £500 for the strap model, they still make a mean Submariner competitor. Now then, the new Tudor. This is a watch I've been waiting for, and rather annoyingly for me, this is something I predicted in my watch predictions for 2026. That video will be coming out in a few weeks, so hit subscribe and the notification bell to not miss that one. This for sure did seem like an obvious choice for Tudor, the white dial Ranger, or in their language June White. And that's simply because it's something lacking from within the entire Hans Wilsdorf Foundation's lineup of watches. We have the Explorer 2 in both black and white, the Tudor Black Bay Pro in black and opaline, but both the Explorer 1 and the much more reasonably priced Ranger, we've only had them in that black. Now, why would Rolex not issue an Explorer 1 in white? Well, it would be a success, but I think it's because there are certain models from the Rolex back catalogue that they don't want to devalue by creating a modern version of. The Explorer 1016 had what's often been called the albino dial, the basically all-white watch, but it is an ultra rare piece. According to Hodinkee, only 20 Rolexes across all the lines, from Submariner to GMT and even Explorer, came with those albino dials, making them very, very expensive as a result. And allegedly, there's only one white 1016 out there. A modern version from the Rolex crown could devalue this, and as a result, lose Rolex a few potential auction house stories down the line, which always do the brand brilliant PR. Later on this year, at Sotheby's Precision and Brilliance auction on December the 5th, there's a Rolex Daytona Albino Reference 6263 coming up for auction with an estimate of between $500,000 and $1 million. It will for sure appear in all your usual watch outlets. Whether or not it's real, though, is another story. We've had a lot of auction madness and fraud these past few years, something I'm keen to explore in a rather long journalistic piece next year. But returning to this white dial Tudor Ranger, it is the same 36mm case that Rolex built their name with, and the same size as that 1016. So this really is doing what Tudor do best, and that's vintage reissues of Rolex's most famous watches. But this is less of a reissue, and more of an inversion of the matte black Ranger's colour scheme. This new 36mm watch is 1mm thinner than the 39mm piece that we know and love. Most importantly though, this new 36mm watch sees the Ranger's price dip to under £3,000 on the bracelet, or $5,340 US, which makes it the cheapest Tudor using an in-house movement, the Kenissi-produced MT5400. This is the same movement as you'll find in the Black Bay 58 and the Black Bay 36. Is this a good release? Yes, I adore the Ranger, and I very nearly bought one over my Black Bay GMT a few years back. But is this enough of a new watch to justify me to purchase it? Perhaps not. However, I have been in the market for a white dial field watch strap monster, and this would do the job very, very well if it weren't for one thing. But buyers beware, this now sports 19mm lugs, an annoying size for many of us, as it leaves many strap options off the table from our 20, 22 and 18mm strap collections. And I think for me, that might actually be a deal breaker. So what do you think of these two watches? Have they changed the game? Will you be getting one? Let me know below. But before we wrap up, why are these watches coming out now? Okay, it's pretty normal for Tudor to launch a new watch or two at Watches and Wonders, but Omega don't attend and instead launch watches throughout the year. These pieces in front of us today are both interesting watches that sit within the comfortable middle of their respective brands' price points. And both of them represent one thing: the continued challenge to Rolex. Omega continue to out-innovate the brand, and Tudor continue to offer watches that the brand simply will not. And so today, instead of hitting you with some philosophy or some theory, I instead want to ask you guys and gals, my community, a question. How long do you think Rolex can continue like they are? So, withholding innovation, withholding improved models, and by relying on their known, already existing icons, but without doing any work to retain their iconic status. Put your thoughts below. As ever, thanks for watching. If you like my work, do consider becoming a channel member. It helps me out just a little bit, and you get a few perks, including an extra video each month. And if not, do remember to like and subscribe before you go, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.